Muy buenos días. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us to Cafecito con HACE. I hope you are staying positive and focusing on what you can control. I am excited for today's guest. For those of you, this is your first time connecting with HACE. My name is Patricia Mota. I'm currently serving as President and CEO for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit that since 1982, our mission is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing Latinos the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. And quick announcement, you have until July 1st. We've talked in some of our past series regarding our Mujeres de HACE, our emerging leadership programs, opportunities to engage in leadership assessments, one-on-one coaching, culturally relevant training programs, but most importantly, a strong support network across the country to help you continue to advance in your career. And so July 1st is the deadline. Check out our website, aceonline.org, for more information. And one of our key executive coach, our leaders, our influencers that really help get these programs off the ground and really serves as one of our executive coaches is Marlene Gonzalez, who is the president and CEO for Life Coaching Group, an executive coach, an author. We get to talk about her newly released book today. Buenos días, Marlene. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenos dias, Patricia. Happy to be here. This is amazing. Technology is making everything possible. And happy to just join the Cafecito. And look what I got.
I gotta get my hard copy. I just finished reading it here.
Awesome.
Oh. Yes. Well, congratulations, Marlene. I know this book is a long time coming. Also, we're so excited as being such a leader in the HACE Familia, and many of our listeners that are tuning in, that you have had an opportunity to coach one-on-one. But let me start off with our first question is, how do you enjoy your cafecito?
Well, that's a good question. I usually do a tintito, okay? You know what a tintito is? A tintito is a Colombian way of drinking coffee. It's black and short, and I usually take one in the morning with a little bit of stevia. That's it. I don't add anything else. But for me, I got a greater appreciation of coffee this year when I visited the coffee region in Colombia. And I just being there, touring the family farms and really knowing the process from beginning to end, it makes me appreciate this much more. Every cup, there is a hard hands, sweat and tears that families in Colombia are putting, Colombia, Brazil, and but this happened to be in the Colombian region, and I came back fascinated by the whole process, but showing more appreciation every time I drink my cup of coffee.
Oh,
what about you? How do you drink yours?
Beautiful, straight. I try to stay with not too much sugar, so just straight black coffee. I think in the summer, sometimes every now and then over ice, and try to make an iced coffee so that would make it a little more refreshing.
Nice.
But beautiful for you to say that you've been able to visit, right, and actually see the process behind what it takes to have that morning cup of coffee.
It makes you appreciate it much more, and also appreciate Latin America. There are so many places to visit, and our region is just amazing. Our people, our customs, our history. So we should take the time to do more traveling to South America.
It's on my to-do, Marlene. I know we've talked about that, specifically when you experienced that trip. Marlene, so we have listeners anywhere from those getting started in their careers, those further along. As you know very well, the HACE Familia, it's always critical to hear stories in terms of our guests and their career trajectory. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got to where you are today?
Wow, that's a long question. How much time do we have? Let me give you the executive level, high level. I grew up in Venezuela. I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan American. I grew up in a broken household. What that means is I wasn't raised by my father nor my mom. I was given up to my abuelita, my paternal abuelita, and she brought me up. She raised me. She instilled so many great values and principles. But also, growing up, I have great memories of being the only child in the household. Okay, I would drive my abuelita crazy, but I always had this vision that I wanted to travel the world. I would see planes and think, I want to travel. I want to get to know people in different cultures. Well, be careful what you wish for, because fast forward, and a lot of things happen in between. I joined McDonald's Corporation when I was 14 years old, running away from home. And that's another cafecito story right there. I wanted my independence. I was the rebel. I wanted to do my own thing. And I was running away from home, and I said, oh my gosh, I need a place to sleep. I need to find a work job. How am I going to pay for myself? So I walk into this a restaurant, and I remember meeting Carlos Cornejo, Ecuadorian. Okay, never forget his name and his face. And he said, well, we're hiring. Do you want a job? And I said, yeah, I need a job. I need where to work. And he connected me with the manager. The manager asked me, a few questions, and she said, where do you live? I said, I'm looking for a home. And she said, why? Audrey, African American, beautiful lady, first mentor ever in McDonald's. She said, well, I hear that you run away from home. Is there a place where you can stay for the next few weeks? And I said, no. And she said, come and live with me. Okay. That's where my family began. My McDonald's family began, with those two individuals influencing my life. I thought I was going to be at McDonald's for 2 or 3 years, or just the summertime, and ended up being 30 years of my life, moving from operations, training, innovation, franchising, living in Chile, Colombia, traveling the world, opening restaurants everywhere, helping franchisors to open, grow, and become great franchisees and multimillionaires. So towards the end of my career, I moved back from innovation to operations and then training. And I thought it will be great for me to do something after I retire from corporate. And I wanted to do some coaching and some consulting. So I started getting my credentials and accreditations, and I thought to open my own consulting business to help Latinos. And that's what I've been doing, Patricia, ever since. I do executive coaching, I do facilitation, I do consulting, especially for Latinos, fast track, and those kind of programs. Lucky to have companies come to us asking for support, and I've been working for Fortune 500, nonprofit, government ever since. And I have met such a wonderful group of Latinos out there. So, yeah. I know a lot of them are listening right now.
Yes, hello. And please feel free to comment, get your questions ready. I know you've met every participant that we've had in our leadership program, right?
Yes.
Is it through the one-on-one coaching, and really gotten to know what are some of the key challenges that Latinos are facing in the workplace, but also through those conversations and through your own leadership experience, being able to apply to this book, right? That was just recently launched. And so we want to make sure we spend some time talking about the Leadership Wizard, the 9 dimensions to unlock the leader in you.
Patricia, this book has a lot to do with the discovery and the information and the facts that we have. We have coached directly close to now 14,000 Latinos across the US, across industries. So we have a lot of information about behaviors, preferences, blind spots that no one else but you and HACE have. A lot of those findings, you'll find it here. And I just want to address the first thing. The first thing is that we need to see ourselves as leaders. Leadership is not about position. It's not about title. It's not about the company that you work for. You happen to be there. Leadership is unlocking that potential that you do have within you. But often ask people, what is your leadership brand? What do you stand for? What's your style? And sometimes we struggle just to answer the basic questions. So the first chapter, when you read the book, is about that. It's about understanding what are the different leadership styles and which one do I really relate and resonate the most with based on my values and my principles and what I wanted to achieve. And, we hone on that, on leadership a lot, because it's the way you show up. It's how you are driven to make decisions. It's how you follow your heart to fight for the things that you know that you have to, or when you have to speak up in a meeting because you agree or disagree. So yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and those 9 dimensions are the foundation towards being a great leader. So if you know how to master them all, you'll succeed anywhere. Being an entrepreneur, CEO, senior executive, C-suite level, but it's knowing yourself. It's knowing what drives you, what you stand
and
for.
I love reading it, Marlene, because you and we meet often, right? Throughout, since I began at ASE 2010, you're already here. You had, help with Mujeres de ASE, getting that off the ground. And I can see myself as I was reading these 9 dimensions in terms of how I have evolved over time, but yet the opportunity to continue to evolve, continue to learn. And I think it's critical that we become avid learners, right? And you mentioned that this is a series, but I do want to list the 9 dimensions, just say them. And then I have a question for you regarding these 9 dimensions. So it's the transformational leadership, vision, communication, influence, adversity, inspiration, commitment, empowerment, and discipline. Which of these 9 dimensions, I know what I think, but do you think is the most challenging?
I want to hear from
you. I think I told you before, I think the most challenging for me, but it takes that that reflection and saying, okay, I have to set some time aside to be able to get this done, or I need to reflect and I need to journal, whatever it is, right? Is the discipline, which is the 9th one, right? Because it takes, I think, a lot. It's not easy. I mean, you have to really be intrinsically motivated to get, and ensure that you know your why, to your earlier point. And I always jump back to my why to help me with the part that's not so easy, which is the discipline piece.
Yeah.
So you threw the question back at me, but I'll ask you, which one do you think is the most challenging in general?
It depends on where you are in your career. Okay. If you are new, upcoming, maybe leadership is going to be the biggest hurdle for you to overcome. It's understanding the process of social influence as you are going through the ranks. At the beginning, you might not have people reporting to you, and you have to insert that social influence, negotiate, voice your opinion, manage conflict in the workplace to maximize the result of the team, because you're part of the team and you are not directly responsible for them, but you are a leader. And as leaders, we have to show up everywhere, every time, every day. It's not just when I get promoted, to manager or director or CEO. Is owning that leadership every day. It's waking up and thinking, how can I do great today? What's on my calendar? What's my purpose for today? And that's kind of why, I wake up every morning and I ground myself. How can I do the most good today? How can I help people? How can I impact the people around me in a positive way? But that comes from within. And we talk about that intrinsic motivation, knowing your core and why you want to lead. It's not just the call to lead, is, do you see yourself as a leader? And do you know what you bring to leadership? Are you confident and assertive about that? Now, as you move along the ranks and you go from leading teams to leading the organization, I think the discipline is very challenging because you have to make that a priority. It's taking the time at the end of the week and think and journal, Patricia. I'm a big fan of journaling. What did I do this week that I feel very proud of? What was my biggest accomplishment? And I begin with that because you have to anchor those behaviors in your subconscious. And then my second question is, what can I do better next week that I'm not so proud of this week? And then ask yourself, what can I do? You know, how can I set aside that time to practice those behaviors? Because leadership is a process. It's a game that you have to know how to play. Okay.
Right. Hola, Leti.
Oh, Leti, ¿cómo estás? Oh, she ordered the hard copy.
All right.
I'll come and sign it, Leti. We have to do like a
we'll do a
retreat or
signing
something.
event or something like that. Hola, Angelica. So we have Angie. Angie's currently participating in Mujeres de Asa. Mujeres de Asa right now. Yeah, I think that's great. I encourage you all that are tuning in to reflect and to ask any questions. We have a couple minutes left, and we have a lot of folks that you've already engaged with tuning in. Hola, Karina. I think, you know, the other key thing that in terms of the dimensions, but I think was especially I reflected on quite a bit, especially after this past year that we had, was the communication and the adversity piece. Yes. The communication in terms of, you know, as a leader, like sometimes I didn't have all the answers, but, you know, at least saying, hey, I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to figure it out, right? We don't know what's going to happen next, but we're going to figure it out. And I think sometimes if we're not sure, we don't, as leaders, we don't want to communicate. But I think if you don't say anything at all, you leave room for uncertainty, right?
Exactly. I think the first thing is knowing that you have to be clear about the point and how to get the point across. Sometimes we have to communicate tough decisions, and you have to be okay with that. If you're hesitant, if you don't want to address the elephant in the room, people are going to be looking up to you anyways. So it is in your best interest to do it right, to prepare, maybe take some notes, manage your emotions, understand your constraints, what you can and cannot do, but having clarity on the message and also empathy. There is a lot of stress and anxiety. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. We need to communicate that certainty in uncertain times, right? And that is not difficult if it doesn't come from within. If you're fearful about losing your job or not knowing what's going to happen or what the risks are, well, that is going to be contagious. You know, those emotions are contagious. So do the temperature check. You know, how am I feeling about this message? And am I clear about the outcome, the risks? Am I opening myself up for suggestions? Because you don't have all the answers. It's very hard for someone to have all the different components of leadership. That's why this is a social process, and you have to influence people that are around you. Is a game of strategies, the game of understanding where are you and where do you want to go, you know? And I define leadership there as a social influence. And to be influential, what do you need? Communication, negotiation skills, influencing skills, right? The ability to tell your story in a very passionate way that touches both the head and the heart.
Yeah, the head and the
heart.
That's
a secret. That's a secret.
I want to emphasize the journaling because I know sometimes, and this also applies to other communities, but it's a traditional value in the Latino community in terms of modesty and humility, which makes it more challenging for us to toot our own horn sometimes, which if we're journaling, if we're whether it's written or it's a Word document, I have a Word document, you're showcasing, you're keeping track of your accomplishments and how you're going to do better, but also the challenges that you have, I think is so critical and part of your career should be part of your leadership toolkit. So we are at time. I have one final question to leave our audience here with today is what are you most hopeful for the remainder of the year?
Oh, I'm very hopeful because this is a bright time for Latinos, okay, and minority leaders in general. We have to step up. We have to embrace who we are. We have to unlock that power within us, Patricia. You know, I look at the sky every night and I see so many stars. And I think, how many of them are Latinos? How do we embrace our uniqueness? How do we shine? How do we take the opportunity to really show up and up our game of leadership? What are the key strategies? Because we all need to approach leadership this amazing process of growth and self-development. So I'm very encouraged by the Latinx in the future. I'm very encouraged that we're focusing on the right regulations. This administration is very keen into looking deeper at immigration, okay, and the things that we're dealing with that are difficult for Latinos. Affordable housing, healthcare, those are things that I see progress. I want to see more, and we all have to come together and voice and become more vocal, not invisible, but vocal, okay, about our rights and what we represent everywhere, anytime, with anyone.
It takes each of us to be part of this collective effort and the power that we truly have as a community. Marlene, mil gracias. Sabes, it's always a pleasure. All of you all joining in, please continue to share this video, comment, like. Make sure if you haven't got it already, you're getting the book, The Leadership Wizard, The 9 Dimensions to Unlock the Leader in You. Gracias a todos. Hasta la próxima. Till next time.
Gracias, Patricia. Take care.
You too.